Okay, the market is in fine fettle, fine form, down 30, 35 points, nothing at all in the broader scheme of things. Now, Mahindra Logistics, as we were sort of telling you earlier, posted a strong set of first quarter earnings, both on a year-on-year and sequential basis. Revenues are up 36%. Margins have also improved to 5.5% from the earlier 4.6%. Another key highlight is that the enterprise mobility business has bounced back on a low base this time. Ram Praveen Swaminathan is Managing Director and CEO at Mahindra Logistics. He's joining us to take some questions. Mr. Swaminathan, thanks very much for your time. Good to have you with us here. Could you break up this 36% growth in revenues in terms of volumes and price increases to begin with? Go on, sir.
Good morning. I think it's obviously a quarter of strong growth. Most of that, I would say, was almost completely volume. We had 36. The 3PL business grew by around 40%. Our network services businesses grew by around 20%, and the mobility business, of course, had a very strong path of recovery, up around 50-55%. So, but almost all of that growth was really driven by volume. Price itself was fairly marginal impact in terms of our overall growth.
All right. Mr. Swaminathan, just can you tell us a little more in detail about the auto segment, because a big chunk of your revenues comes from there. So just wanted to understand, the growth has been very strong this time around. What is the expectation for the rest of the year?
Yeah, so clearly, I mean, the automotive sector is roughly around 50% of our revenues, and that's had a pretty strong quarter year on year, sequentially growth as well. We think Q2 will pretty much hold the momentum, and frankly, I think from in Q3 and Q4, as we have said earlier, we think the supply chain issues will get debottlenecked further. So overall, I expect a pretty strong year in terms of auto, driven by rebound and just the penetration and launches by the OEMs we work with.
Have you added any new non-Mahindra clients in that space, the auto space?
Well, a little bit on the component space, a couple of new component manufacturers, but volumes are still early days in terms of volumes from those clients.
What is your current market share?
So we do work obviously with, the Mahindra business is roughly around 75% of our overall automotive volume. So I think we've seen growth across the board in the other OEMs as
well. No, I'm asking you about your market share of Mahindra Logistics.
Well, I think it's a very fragmented space, so it's hard to compute it. But I think the 3PL industry, which is where we primarily focus, is roughly a market of around 65 to 67,000 crores. And we have around 5% market share. In the mobility space, on the enterprise mobility space, we have north of 20% market share.
Right. In the third-party logistics space, this includes that number, 67, 68,000, includes everything, organized, unorganized, total.
Yes. The 3PL business itself is only around 6% of the overall logistics sector. So right. 3PL is a fraction of the overall sector. But in that space, the overall logistics is north of around $200 billion.
Right. Is competition, is competitive intensity gone up quite a bit? We've got lots of not startups now, but newer players, right? Well-funded newer players flexing muscle. How do you see that affecting your business and what you are doing there?
Yes, I think inherently the sector is fairly competitive. It's fragmented, and it's got a fair level of unorganized players as well. So naturally lends to competitive intensity. I think competitive intensity in the 3PL space has gone up a couple of notches over the last year as it becomes a larger focus for all players. But from our perspective, we've been very focused on driving integrated solutions, and that's seen some pretty good adoption, and that's underlying a lot of our non-auto growth as well. Non-automotive businesses grew by 35%. Year on year, and a lot of that's coming from our focus on integrated solutions.
Any plans to demerge your enterprise mobility business?
At this stage, nothing which we can comment on. I think that business, we closed the acquisition of Meru the last quarter, and we've been focused on driving a lot of integration there and synergy, and that's showing results right now. Volume, as I said, is up. Losses at Meru, year on year declined from around 6 crores in Q1 F22 to around 2 crores in Q1 F23. So So we're very focused right now on synergy, tech-driven growth, and there's no plan right now to demerge the mobility business.
Mr. Swaminathan, in terms of overall profitability, could you leave us with some kind of guidance? Where will it be?
Well, as I said before, we're really not a company which gives guidance, as a policy, but we are focused this year heavily on driving margin expansion. We've said in the past that, from a long-term perspective, we want to show 30 to 50 bips of improvement driven by mix and cost optimization, and that's the kind of long-term goal which we hope to stay on course this year as well.
Okay. All the best. Thanks a lot for joining us. I think the street liked what you were saying. The stock has moved to the high point. It's up over 1% right now. So let's just get that chart up for you. The margins have definitely improved for Mahindra Logistics, and they're saying that all the growth in this quarter was largely volume-led. But let's move on to the auto space, which is clearly the space